Edrin Volsk was a scholar, a mathematician, an amateur opponent of universal laws. The kind of man who looks at mortality, an undefeated system with a perfect historical record across the entirety of human existence, and thinks, this seems negotiable. He did not defeat death. He did, however, defeat himself, comprehensively, using architecture. Edrin studied everything: mathematics, alchemy, probability theory, something called forbidden geometry, which sounds like regular geometry but with considerably worse consequences. And then one day, he discovered a pamphlet, self-published, several typos. Title: Why Death Is Mostly Guesswork. At that moment, the universe quietly refreshed its notifications and whispered, "Oh no." Edrin had a revelation. Death, he concluded, isn't cruel, isn't evil. Death is just administration, a cosmic middle manager, the interdimensional equivalent of the DMV, but with a scythe and no appointment system. And if death follows procedure, somewhere there must be a loophole. This man looked at the one process with 100% success rate since the beginning of recorded time and entered what economists would classify as a catastrophic strategic negotiation. So Edrin built a fortress. Underground. Not basement underground, not bunker underground, 7 levels beneath rock that hadn't seen sunlight since the concept of sunlight was still in beta. The design was meticulous. Lead walls to block cosmic radiation, salt barriers because apparently death dislikes seasoning, iron plating, the honest metal, which death supposedly respects. Nobody knows why. Iron has simply maintained a solid reputation. Corridors bent at irrational angles, not wrong angles, irrational ones, the kind mathematicians love and reality finds exhausting. Mirrors faced mirrors, infinite reflections in every direction. The theory, if death sees endless copies of Edrin, perhaps he'll assume the job is already done. It's the metaphysical equivalent of hiding from responsibilities behind multiple browser tabs. And then, the doors, each one unlocked only under contradictory conditions. A door might open on Tuesdays unless it was raining, except during a full moon, but not on Tuesdays. Reality began developing what engineers might call structural anxiety. At the center sat Edrin's masterpiece, the null point, a chamber designed so that fate couldn't focus, probability got confused, and death, ideally, would give up and go home. Edrin sealed the chamber, sat down, and thought with great satisfaction, nailed it. He had not nailed it. Now, death is busy, extremely busy. Humans, animals, bacteria, the occasional overconfident philosopher. The schedule is perpetually full. But eventually, the great ledger freezes. One name stuck on pending. Edrin Volsk. Not alive, not collected, just loading. Death goes to investigate. Level 1 collapses into nothingness. Death walks across it. The void apologizes and stops existing. Level 2 screams ancient banishment curses. Death corrects their grammar. They fall silent. Level 3 presents a probability trap. Choose left or right and face consequences. Death doesn't choose. Reality panics and quietly generates a third hallway. By level 7, even death pauses, the way a contractor might briefly admire particularly creative plumbing. Finally, the sanctum. Edrin Volsk, seated at the center, surrounded by equations, symbols, and an impressive quantity of smugness. He explains the chamber is mathematically invisible. Fate cannot detect him. Death cannot process him. Death listens, then waits. Minutes pass. Edrin grows impatient. "What are you doing?" Death replies quietly, "Waiting for you to notice." Notice what? The candles burned out hours ago. The air is stale. The silence is very, very heavy. And Edrin's body is slumped in the chair. Because when you seal yourself inside a perfectly airtight chamber with no air, no food, no water, and time behaving like a confused intern, you die. Edrin succeeded brilliantly. He built a fortress that was completely death-proof. Unfortunately, it was also life-proof. Death surveys the 7 levels of paranoia, the infinite mirrors, the irrational geometry, the doors that only open on specific Tuesdays under impossible conditions. Then shrugs. Well, I suppose this counts.
It is a bit dark in here, though. And that concludes the case of Edrin Volsk, the man who tried to outthink death and accidentally completed the process himself on schedule inside his own masterpiece. Turns out you cannot hide from death, cannot outmaneuver it, and if you isolate yourself from everything that keeps you alive, the system simply processes the request automatically. He didn't lose to death. He lost to a sealed room, which, if you think about it, death found hilarious. Subscribe and cheer up. The worst, as always, is yet to come.